Hello and welcome to Money Markets and More with me, Dominic Frisby, and we're back in the graveyard, and today we are talking about the business of war and how the model has changed. Before we begin, I just wanted to plug a couple of things. I have a gig coming up in the West End in May at Crazy Coq's in Piccadilly Circus. It's a fantastic venue. These nights are excellent, and if you're free, please come. Second, my Substack, The Flying Frisbee. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's going great guns. Substack is a fantastic medium. I love it. And eventually I'm going to move this YouTube channel over there. So, once upon a time, the business model of war was straightforward. You attacked some neighbouring realm, overpowered it, then plundered and taxed the conquered people. The Vikings were great pioneers of the model, as was ancient Rome, and it worked for as long as the empire kept expanding and Rome kept winning wars. When the expansion stopped, Rome had to replace the plunder with some other form of income, and that's when the currency debasement started. Often, but not always, the conquerors built infrastructure, buildings, roads, or train lines in the case of the British. They stabilised the currency and introduced functioning bureaucracies, leading to the common argument that the conquerors actually improved things, which in many ways they sometimes did. The business model didn't always function well, especially if the fight was ideological, or more importantly, if you lost. Europe came second in the ideological crusades, and there was no plunder, or not as much as they might have liked, and no taxation, and the bill fell to the European taxpayer, the lowly European taxpayer. And the various tithes that were levied, for example, those of Henry II, Richard I and John in England, for example, with the Saladin tithe being the most famous, have gone down in history as some of the most punitive taxes ever imposed. There were even cowardice taxes, scutage, for those who did not want to go to war. But on the other hand, the Catholic Church and the papacy, which broadly speaking initiated the expeditions, made extremely good by the whole affair. The church experienced an enormous increase in wealth and power, the papacy especially. Something changed with the great wars of the 20th century. The Nazis may have vigorously pursued the traditional business model of war to overpower, plunder, and then tax. But the Allies emerged victorious, and Britain, in particular, did not enjoy the spoils of victory that were enjoyed after the wars of previous centuries. There was little plunder, loot, and taxation. Instead, the cost of the war fell on the British citizen. Taxation in 1947 was 3 times as high as it was in 1938. The cost of living doubled between 1938 and 51. Put another way, the pound lost 50% of its purchasing power. The US supplied Britain with all sorts of essentials during the war, and then after the war provided all sorts of credit. But it would not accept pounds as repayment, instead demanding gold or dollars. And so with the devaluation of the pound, it took Britain 2 generations, 60 years, to settle the debt. Germany, on the other hand, had its debt written off in 1953. The British were not rewarded for their sacrifice. Today, the US's enormous military-industrial complex has had its coffers tremendously enriched by its various wars in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan and elsewhere, and through America's role as policeman. From defence contractors such as Lockheed Martin and Boeing to oil giants such as Halliburton, which benefited from lucrative contracts gained in the aftermath, billions have been made. But who actually foots the bill? Broadly speaking, there hasn't been the traditional plunder and taxation of the newly conquered territories in the wars that the US has nominally won, and it's lost quite a few. of the other ones. Some of the cost has been covered by the exorbitant privilege of the US dollar and the ability the US has to print and loan, but probably the largest portion of the cost of war falls on the US citizen, paid for in taxes. Roughly 12% of total US government spending, or 21% of federal spending, so roughly 12% of everything an American pays in tax, will go on what the US disingenuously calls defence. I don't recall any nation actually invading the US. And that same citizen will be the one hit if or when those debt chickens come home to roost. But with the enrichment of the military-industrial complex and the worship of many of those who operate in it, there are many parallels between today's US business war model or war business model and that of the Crusades. Some large corporate organisations are enriched and empowered by it, while the ordinary folk pay. You might say the current model is unsustainable, which would be true, but that doesn't mean it can't go on for a long time. What is your time frame? The Crusades went on for 200 years. And what about the current war in Ukraine? At first glance, I would suggest Russia was hoping for a traditional plunder and tax affair with its invasion, but Ukraine has since attracted vast support, the original source of which is the Western taxpayer. So I guess we have a blend of the two models. Thank you very much for watching Money Markets and More. A reminder of my gig in the West End this May, and if you're interested in protecting your wealth in these extraordinary times, then be sure to own some gold bullion, and my current recommended bullion dealer is the Pure Gold Company, and whether you're taking delivery or not, and there is a link to them and to my gig in May in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.